Hello my darlings, welcome to this week's episode of an A to Z Guide to Being a Creative Genius. My name is Heidi Hinder Chadwick and I welcome you to today's episode, which is filmed en plein air in the beautiful sunshine under a blue sky. There's some greenery, which is just joyous for this little human being. And this week's episode we're going to be looking at D for desire. Desire. Desire has led me to being outside today, to finding a place that is quiet enough for you to be able to hear me. So it's a total experiment, so we'll go with that. And in the meantime, I'm really enjoying the feeling of the sunshine on my bare skin and the feeling of the wind. And it's just delicious. So I followed my desire today to shake things up and to be outside despite feeling a little shy, a little self-conscious. So that's shifted now though, and interestingly as I allowed it to shift, like everybody's gone. There's like a massive load of people sat here, but there you go, just me and some daisies and you. So just before we go any further, as usual, I really appreciate it if you would like this video, and if you haven't done so already, if you're new, hello first of all, and it'd be really great if you would subscribe so you don't miss a single one of these episodes. And if you enjoyed today's video, then please share, multiply, let it go forth, which is basically what desire is. It is a yearning to bring forth, a yearning to become. Really, it is the soul's yearning. And it's the makeup of everything. Everything is moving in and through and with this force, because it is a force. It's an incredibly powerful force called desire. It feels this extremely cohesive force. It's a kind of glue in a way that not only draws everything together and binds us into substance and form and life, but it's also this great big magnet, this attractor of all things. So the more that we are centered in our own claiming of our desire and becoming, listening from our soul, the more that life vibrates and responds to us and to that, which is pretty fucking awesome, I would say. So how does this connect with living a creative life? It's from desire that we make the choice to create, isn't it? Really? This desire to bring something into life, whether it's a riff, a few notes that keep playing that won't leave us alone. It's an idea for a story, some inspiration, an image that we've seen, a conversation we've had, suddenly wants to become an expression that's unique through our own voice. All of art has come from a desire to bring a form from this formlessness. A desire comes from, it literally comes from nothing. If we think about the Big Bang, you know, let's just go with that evolutionary one. Or in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God. If you're going to go with a religious, so you don't have to go with any of those things, to be honest. You can go scientific, from right down to the first cell, the nucleus of that cell, what's in there. There is this nothingness, this absolute nothingness, and then everything comes out from this place. So everything comes from nothing, and this is very much Eros. I have a real thing around Eros because I believe it is all of life and explains life and creativity and soul and how to be a creative genius. So Eros was seen as a primordial god with one foot in death, which is really this great void of nothingness. Not empty as in empty, nihilistic, just nothingness, potential. And then another foot in life, in everything. And between that is this incredible transition place, this bridge, which is constantly unfolding. It's never reaches an end point. It's continuous flow. Desire is the force that gets us out of bed in the morning. It's the force that causes us to take any action towards life. Desire is what makes everything reach up towards light. So desire is where all good stories come from. Actually, all stories come from, whether the stories that we read in a book, whether they're fairy tales, whether they're movies, films, even the journey we're taken on through an orchestra, theatre piece, a series of photographs, the story that is being told. And the desire can be for anything, that impetus, that starting point of desire. So, for instance, it could be a desire for meaning. That might be why we're creating what we create. A desire to make sense of everything. A desire for redemption. Always makes a great, intriguing story. For revenge. A desire for love. A desire for knowledge, for wisdom, for power. The desire to save the world. Whether that's in a superhero form, whoop whoop, to superheroes, or whether that's creating your piece of art in order to literally save the world. You care about the planet, you care about the climate, you care about what's going on politically in your society and in the world at large. We might also create from a desire for beauty, to make the world a more beautiful place. A desire for success. A desire to know God, making me think about the artist Mark Rothko. I love his painting. I do recall reading something about his desire to know God. He felt he was so close in the works that he created. He felt like he never quite got there. It didn't quite end well for Rothko in his life. We look at other painters, a desire to really understand nature. Absolutely and utterly to know nature, to know a human being through their painting, to know what love is, to know God through their words, thinking about the poetry of Rumi, or to know nature again through the poetry of Mary Oliver. I'm sure of course there is hundreds and hundreds of these extraordinary creative geniuses whose particular desire, just a single pointed desire, formed that thread through all of their life and through all of their art making. So what is the fuel for your desire to create your life, to create your art, to create relationship, to create your business? It's a really good question to inquire around, because first of all, there is nothing wrong with desire. If it's present in us, if it's happening in us, it's part of our being human. The problem becomes when we're not very clear about where the desire is coming from, what its intention is. You see, if the intention is a little sticky, then probably the outcome will have a sense of that stickiness around it as well. If our intention comes from a place of clarity and of purity and of soul, pure intention, pure desire actually comes from innocence. It's incredibly innocent. It's the innocence of the fool, the innocence of a newborn, so open to everything. Remember, desire is nothing leading to everything. Usually when desire is sticky, it's not coming from that place. It has a kind of motive behind it. Now the thing is, if we're clear about what that motive is, then that's, in a way, it takes away the stickiness. Yeah. So get very clear about what your desire is for. So if it's for success, and it's a real kind of ego place of absolute want to be filthy rich, incredibly successful, I want to be chairman, massive yacht, kind of own penthouse apartment, wherever it is. All of this is absolutely great, it's absolutely fine, but be really clear that that's where your desire is coming from. It's from those, wanting those things. I do feel that the more honest we are about where our desire is coming from, then actually the clearer that channel is. But something else, so keep questioning what's underneath the desire that you found. Because the more we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, the the more we come closer to what our true heart, true soul, and true being desire is. And then we can start living from that place, and again making choices from that place, and probably all the things above that will start to manifest, and like that magnet, start to become more attracted into our life. So desire in its pure form is this sense of this absolute allowing, this openness to everything, and very much our natural nature. So I don't know if you've ever been in a flower garden, or you've walked around your own garden or the park, or you've been out when spring is well and truly underway and the flowers are out. And if you walk around, there is this extraordinary sensuality to nature at this time. Blatant, seductive, the scents of the flowers are so heady. The look of the flowers, it's enough to cause one to blush. There is a sexuality here, very blatant, very shameless sexuality. This drawing in the stickiness of the pollen. Flowers are very sexual imagery, aren't they? They're used as an alternative, if you like, as a metaphor for the anatomy of, particularly for women. Make me think of Georgia Keith. Her work is very sexual, but not from that particular place of intention, but extraordinarily feminine, extraordinarily womanly, and incredibly beautiful. And it's an unconscious desire to seduce, to invite in. The desire for multiplying of life, for life to continue. So as far as I'm aware, though obviously it could be completely wrong here, nature doesn't have this conscious desire for becoming and for multiplication and for procreation, the continuing of creation. It just is because it is in its nature. It is its nature itself. And it's the same for us as well. If you think about the ultimate desire, we've all come from desire, whether it's a beloved desire, whether it's an instinctual, lusty desire. The act of sex is the ultimate desirous act. And from that, new life forms. There you go, there's creation. Sex and creativity are the same force. They're absolutely the same force. It's pleasurable, it's enjoyable, it's fun, it's messy, it's wondrous, it's beautiful. It also holds that possibility of losing ourselves, of dropping the I, of getting out of our own way, of being in that place of flow, absolute and utter flow, and possibly to experience what the French call the little death. That moment when ego is gone, where we're back into that place of complete and utter oneness. We know God again. In a way, isn't that what all desire is? If we keep going back and back and back, is for this sense of oneness, absolute oneness, no separation, to be in that complete state of love, real, true, solid love, to be filled with the ecstasy of all of life. I think it is. I think it is, really, if we keep going back and back and back behind all of our desires. It's a very instinctual to return back to that place of nothingness where we came out from. I'm only just thinking about that now, that cyclical nature of creativity, of creative energy and force. So I often say this, and I'm offering it out there to all of you, my darlings. Take life as your lover. Explore what that means to you. Just explore, just inquire, see what happens. Now, this is all very well and good, but let's talk about judgment around our desires, or desire in general, our shame around that, our fear, or all those, am I allowed, do I have permission, what will people say, is this okay, is it too big, is it too small, is it right, is it wrong, and so on. We haven't really been taught, have we, at all, how important and how powerful and valuable this force of desire is, and what happens then if we do give in to any of the shame, judgment, fears and so on, we start to squish and squash and ultimately distort the expression, the movement. Remember, everything is moving into life, that movement of our desire. And I mean, come on, we just have to look at how the world is at the moment. This is a great example of when this force has been distorted out. So instead of it becoming a creative force, it becomes a destructive force. It's all one and the same. Remember, there's this sense of no separation, but it's what's happening. And it's very interesting. My sister said something to me this morning. We're talking about desire. I was talking about, I've put out a little art challenge on Instagram. If you want to go over and follow, or just do it in your own time, 40 days of desire. We're just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into exploring how desire affects us in our life, full stop. So head on over there if you want to. But talking to her about some of the reaction I've had towards this, which is people unsubscribing, being banned from a writers group that I'm on Facebook, some inappropriate offerings that have come into my inbox. And she says something very interesting and true. Isn't it so hypocritical that we live in a world where we're okay with seeing violence, whether it's on the television through scenes of war or abuse, hypersexualization of celebrities, and yet when it comes to looking at our own desire and how it moves through us, we are full of judgment and we are terrified, absolutely terrified to go there. And it's so true. It's absolutely true. We can easily project out. There's a safety. And at the same time, it makes me wonder about then that need for, or the desire for those kind of violence and action films and those particular games, even horror films, which I absolutely love, and where we've subjugated and repressed the force of our own desire, because it's, as I mentioned, one of the most powerful forces in the world. And we do have to be very careful with desire because, yes, it's an instinctual force. It has a depth. When we start to honour it and listen to it, it has a depth and a breadth. It includes everything. It's inclusive, remember, not just of the ecstasy and the joy and the pleasure, but also of the pain and the grief and devastation and heartache. It includes everything. And there goes our ability then to hold and to bear as much as possible. So we keep expanding and expanding. And as artists, we create art from these places. And as we do so, other people feel understood. Other people feel less alone. They get it. So it's one of the reasons artists are just the most extraordinary beings and creatures that are so needed in life, because they make us understand this human experience. Obviously, the shadow side is when this turns into abuse, it turns into addiction, into those kind of quick fixes, the impulsiveness, the repetitive patterns. And actually what happens is they're coming from an ego place. So rather than being fully soul satisfied, that depth and that breadth, instead we're just hungry all the time. It's not satiating us. It's like what the Buddhists call the hungry ghost, and we keep seeking and seeking and seeking and seeking to satiate this hunger, this thirst, which can never be so from the surface desires being chosen at that time. And again, there's nothing wrong with that if we're very clear that those are impulsive desires that we are saying yes to at that time. Making it clear again, desire, 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 all of it is welcomed. All of it is welcomed. It's the awareness that's key. Is this leading into a life of deeper and fuller creativity in all areas, or is it leading me towards depletion and destruction and isolation and harm, ultimately? One last thing around desire, again, just to be aware of, and that is when our desire is for a particular outcome. However much that is in the best of intention, anytime we just focus on the particular outcome, it's very future-based. If we're just focused on that, what we do then is we negate the now. And that's not a healthy way to live. That will cause frustration. There's nothing wrong with the desire for that particular outcome if it also, so here's where we hold both, if it also includes where we are now. So we're not escaping from how it is now. There's just this opening towards this soul's yearning towards this particular outcome. So whatever happens with that outcome, we're not going to end up losing ourselves. We're still here, anchored in how it is right now. So, as I have mentioned a few times, it is inclusive of all of our experience. It's not negating any of our experience. That's very, very important. So do let me know in the comments below what resonates for you, what your relationship to desire is. If you're not sure, even if you know what your instinctual soul desires are, then give yourself time to explore that, to become quiet, to listen, to ask. Ask your heart what you desire, ask your bones, ask your body, your belly, your breath, and just listen. Answers are always from the inside out. I'm off now to enjoy the sunshine, which is one of those things that just makes me feel so alive. If you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe, share, you know the drill by now. And if you pop over to my website, you can sign up for my monthly Frida Friday newsletter and receive instantly a free 10 Ways to Awaken Your Creative Genius ebook, which is just simply marvellous. I'm just going to say that really. And I hope you have the most beautiful week, and a week of allowing what makes you feel expansive and turned on, and of pleasure and of joy, and able to feel the depth and the breadth of all of your life. Until next week, my darlings, so much love, and thank you for your time and your attention.